Deep within the ancient heart of the Slavic wilderness, where the pines grow so thick they weave a canopy of eternal twilight, there exists a legend that has survived the rise and fall of empires and the slow erasure of old gods. This is the story of Baba Yaga, a figure whose name alone was once enough to silence a room of hardened warriors. She is not merely a witch in the way modern stories portray them, but a primordial force of nature, an elemental being who occupies the space between the breath of life and the silence of the grave. To find her, one must travel past the edge of the known world, into the realm where the maps end and the shadows begin. Her origins are buried in the pre-Christian soil of Eastern Europe, emerging from the dark collective subconscious of the Slavic tribes, who saw the forest not as a resource, but as a sentient and often vengeful god. The physical presence of Baba Yaga is a masterclass in primal horror. She is often described as an impossibly tall and skeletal hag, famously known as Baba Yaga Bony Leg. This title is far more than a cruel nickname, because in the old tongue a bony limb was a sign of a creature that was half dead already. She is a bridge between worlds, with one foot in the warm grass of the living and the other in the cold clay of the underworld. Her skin is translucent and tough, like cured leather stretched over a frame of iron. Her nose is long and hooked, often described as so large that it scrapes the ceiling of her hut as she sleeps. Perhaps her most terrifying feature is her mouth, which is filled with teeth made of cold forged iron. These are not for eating simple food, but for grinding the very essence of those who dare to cross her threshold without a pure heart. She carries the scent of damp earth and ancient pine resin, a smell that lingers in the air long after she has passed. Her mode of travel is as unique as it is disturbing. While Western witches are tied to the humble broomstick, Baba Yaga moves through the canopy of the woods in a giant stone or wooden mortar. She sits inside this heavy vessel, steering it with a massive pestle that she strikes against the ground like a rhythmic drumbeat of doom. As she flies, she uses a broom made of silver birch to sweep away her tracks, ensuring that no mortal can ever trace her path back to her lair. When she's on the move, the forest itself reacts. The trees bend away from her path, the birds stop their songs, and a cold wind whistles through the leaves, as if the atmosphere itself is trying to escape her presence. She moves with a chaotic and terrifying speed, a blur of grey hair and iron teeth screaming through the night. At the centre of her power stands her legendary dwelling, the hut on chicken legs. This structure is not a static building, but a sentient entity that guards its mistress with fierce loyalty. It sits deep in a clearing surrounded by a fence made of human bones, topped with skulls whose empty eye sockets glow with a supernatural fire at night. These skull lanterns serve a dual purpose as they light the way for the chosen and incinerate the souls of the unworthy. The hut itself stands atop two massive scaly chicken legs that allow it to walk through the woods or spin in circles. To enter, one must know the ancient command, for the hut has no visible door until it is summoned. The traveller must cry out for the hut to turn its back to the forest and its front to the guest. Only then will the living house settle into the dirt and allow entry into its dark, cramped and magical interior. Inside the hut, the logic of the physical world ceases to exist. It is a place where the walls are lined with jars of strange glowing liquids and bundles of herbs that have been extinct for 1,000 years. The most prominent feature is the massive stone oven. In Slavic culture, the oven was the soul of the home, a place of warmth and life. But in Baba Yaga's hut, it takes on a darker meaning. It is a place of transformation, where the old is burned away to make room for the new. She often threatens to cook her guests, but this is frequently a metaphor for the agonizing process of spiritual growth. Those who survive her oven are reborn with wisdom, while those who fail are simply consumed by the cycle of nature. She is served by 3 invisible hands that appear from the shadows to perform chores and prepare her meals, adding to the sense that the house itself is a living trap. Baba Yaga does not rule the forest alone, for she has servants who represent the very fabric of time. 3 riders are often seen approaching her hut at different intervals. The first is a rider in white, on a white horse with white trappings, who represents the bright dawn. The second is a rider in red, who represents the beautiful sun of the afternoon. The third is a black rider on a black horse, who represents the terrible night. These entities are under her absolute command, proving that she is a cosmic being who controls the passage of days and the cycles of the universe. She is often linked to the myth of Koshchei the Deathless, a dark sorcerer who hid his soul inside a needle, inside an egg, inside a duck, inside a rabbit. While they are sometimes enemies, they represent the two sides of the Slavic occult world, where Koshchei is the cold rigidity of death and Yaga is the wild, chaotic process of decomposition and rebirth. The story of Vasilisa the Beautiful provides the most detailed look into how Baba Yaga interacts with humanity. When Vasilisa is sent to the hut to retrieve light, she is forced to separate a mountain of poppy seeds from grains of soil and wheat from dust. These tasks are impossible for a mortal, but with the help of a magical doll, Vasilisa succeeds. Baba Yaga is impressed not just by the girl's work, but by her quiet courage and the fact that she carries a mother's blessing. This is the core of the Yaga myth because she is the ultimate judge of character. She loathes the lazy, the lying, and the weak, but she has a strange respect for those who face her with honesty. In the end, she gives Vasilisa a skull with glowing eyes, which later burns her wicked stepmother to ashes. It is a gift of justice, but one that comes with a terrible price and a reminder of the witch's lethal power. Historians and mythologists believe that Baba Yaga is a distorted memory of an ancient Slavic goddess of death, or perhaps a personification of the Great Mother in her crone aspect. Before the arrival of Christianity, she may have been the matron of initiation rites, where young women were taken into the forest to learn the secrets of life and death. The church transformed her into a terrifying witch to discourage people from following the old ways, but the complexity of her character could not be erased. She remains a figure of profound ambiguity, being neither purely evil nor purely good. She is the forest itself, and the forest does not care for your morality. It only cares for your survival and your strength. As we look back at the 1,000-year history of this legend, we see that Baba Yaga is more relevant today than ever. She represents the parts of our lives that we cannot control, the wild and unpredictable forces that can either destroy us or forge us into something greater. She is a reminder that wisdom often comes from the dark, and that to truly see the light, one must sometimes walk through a fence of glowing skulls. Even now, in the modern age, when we find ourselves lost in the metaphorical woods of our lives, we still subconsciously look for that turning hut and the bony-legged grandmother who holds the keys to the secrets of the universe. She is the eternal watcher in the dark woods, the grandmother of shadows, and the keeper of the iron teeth who will wait for us all at the end of the path.